Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Meatball Cake Pop tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make this really cool cake pop in disguise. For those of you that follow my channel Cake Addiction, you'll know that I love food disguised or dressed up as other food. So when you bite into them, they really don't taste the way that you think they're going to look looking at them from the outside. Tools and equipment that we will be using today. I've got some melted white chocolate and I've just added just a really little bit of yellow colour paste, gel or powder, definitely not liquid, and just a tiny little bit to give us a really pale yellow for our noodle colour today. I've got some red melted candy melts, some melted dark chocolate or milk chocolate will be fine. I've got a pre-rolled cake pop ball. Now, if you don't have a great recipe for getting your cake pops to this stage ready to dip and decorate, I will leave a link to our recipe in the description box below. I've got a plastic fork. You can use any colour that you like. You can add a bit of colour to your forks, or you can just use traditional plain white forks. I've got a spoon, I've got a pair of scissors and a Ziploc bag. So let's get started. This is actually a really easy tutorial. So the first thing that we want to do is take the cake pop ball and our fork. So turn your cake pop ball over. It should have a little bit of a flat bottom just from where it's been refrigerated. And don't be too fussy about rolling your balls. It doesn't matter if they're not entirely neat or entirely perfect. And I've had that in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, so it really is quite firm. You don't want it to be really hard, but you do want it to be quite firm. So I'm just going to dip my fork into that melted chocolate and we're going to insert it into the bottom of our cake pop ball. Now, the reason that you don't want that cake pop ball to be too firm or too hard, so refrigerated or frozen solid, is because when you add in that fork, it will actually split the cake pop ball. So you still want it to be a little bit soft, but not as soft as when you first roll it. 15 minutes in the fridge will get it to the perfect consistency. I'm gonna pop this one in the fridge for a couple of minutes and just let that seal completely set. All right, so we're back from the fridge and my little fork seal has completely set. So now we're gonna take our dark chocolate or milk, whatever you're using, and just dip down. Don't let that dark chocolate go too far down the bottom of the fork, just lifting it out. So I've just let it cover that chocolate seal. Just lifting it out and give it a little tap off, and then we're going to let that completely dry before we add our sauce. So as I'm tapping that, I'm just turning it a little, and that just helps us to get any excess off. All right, so we've let that one completely set. It's really nice and firm to the touch, and once again, don't be too fussy on the smoothness or the roundness of your meatball at this stage. So now I just want you to take the back of your spoon and we're just going to dip it into those candy melts. We're going to use the back because it's going to allow us to give it that really kind of nice, saucy, I guess, texture to it. And you want to go all the way around the meatball. So you want to still be able to see some of that brown coming through because that's going to make that sauce not look quite as red. If you love this tutorial and you want to see a whole lot more food disguised as other foods, so cupcakes and cake pops in disguise, make sure that you head on over to my channel, Cake Addiction, and hit the subscribe button. We've got heaps of great tutorials over there, lots of fun stuff, and we upload 3 new tutorials every week, so sure to be something that you'll enjoy watching. All right, so there's your meatball cake pop at this point. So your cake pop should look like this now. You just want to let that red completely dry. All right, so once your meatball is dry to touch, you can rest that down. Now you want to take your Ziploc bag. I will mention at this point with the noodles or the yellow chocolate, try not to have that just freshly melted. So for me, that was melted probably about 5 minutes ago before I started filming this tutorial, and I haven't given it another melt since. You don't want it to be super hot and super fluid because you do want those noodles to kind of hold their shape as you're piping them on. So as always, pushing our chocolate to the end of the bag, letting all the air out and sealing it up. And we're just going to snip off just a very small corner to fashion a nice little piping bag. Now, you want to hold your cake pop upside down because we've put that nice little chocolate seal, it won't fall off. And you're just going to make yourself some kind of squiggly noodle shapes. Now, when you do this, kind of go around once. So let that first layer of noodles set just a little bit before you come and pipe another layer on top. You want to come up about 2/3 of the way up the meatball, but of course, the amount of noodles that you want is completely up to you. So you can see there by not having really freshly melted or really runny chocolate, those noodles are actually holding their shape and they're not melting into each other. So I'm just going to do a bit of a second layer now. All right, now at this point, you want to take what's left in your bag And just to make it authentic, so looking like we've actually twirled the fork in our noodles while picking up our meatball, I just gave it a couple of lines across the fork like this. And that just sort of makes it look a bit more authentic, like the noodles are going all the way up the fork. So there you've got your completed meatball and noodles cake pop on a fork, ready to serve at your next party. You will need to serve this in a polystyrene block or perhaps some flour foam, and they look great with a whole stack of them all together, almost like a big tray of meatballs. I hope that you guys have loved this tutorial. I hope that you'll enjoy fooling your friends with this food disguised as other food. And as always, thanks very much for watching.